I'm surrounded by great people with my family and friends. I put myself in that position. I surround myself with just great people.
Hi, welcome to the Winners Find a Way show and podcast with your host, Trent M. Clark, 3-time World Series coach, CEO of Leadershipity, serial entrepreneur, having started 12 companies, coach to the 1%, and an international speaker. This show is going to be your go-to podcast for facing adversity, being inspired, and overcoming obstacles, all from the best in the world, business, sports, and leadership. Rebellious Infusions are organic flavored water enhancers. Rebellious provides clean, focused energy in liquid packets. Just tear the corner of the packet and pour 16 ounces of water. Rebellious Infusions have no sugar, no calories, and up to 300 milligrams of antioxidants and loads of L-theanine for brain health. Rethink your drink at drinkrebellious.com. For 10% off of your next purchase, use the code 99999.
Man, I think it's my faith. Absolutely. I think everybody has faith. It's definitely my faith. I'm surrounded by great people with my family and friends. I put myself in that position. I surround myself with just great people. And, if I'm having maybe not the best day, but a great day, a good day, and I'm by myself, I'll throw on a podcast like yours or just something to keep my mind positive and positive mind, but an even bigger heart. You'll get there.
I love it. Talk to me about, you've probably seen some people in your life that have come across your way, maybe not a fit for what we're trying to do here. How do you manage those people or manage them out? What's a go-to for you and your organization, your industry to go, hey, this isn't a values match, maybe?
Right. I love that. Man, you can look in their eye. You can look in their body movement. You can see what time they get to work. If they're early, if they're asking a bunch of questions, if they talk with passion, they're into it. And we've had interns that made Division I teams and, all kinds of great things. And then we've had some that just didn't connect. And when that happens, we just have that talk, let's see what else is out there. And if they want to be in the industry, they can be a photographer or make boots, make saddles, if they want to do it, if they want to stay in the industry. And some do, some don't. But we find something else. It's too dangerous not to want to be in it.
Well, I love that. And I believe this. I'm a believer that everyone's good. Everyone's got good in them. Everyone's got God-gifted talents. I've seen a lot of people inside my organizations that didn't have a talent for what they were doing in my organization. They may have wanted that. Maybe they thought at one point they wanted this. And we see that in pro sports too.
Right.
And we realize hey, maybe this isn't your gift. Maybe there's something else. And a lot of that does show up in attitude, right? If you're going to something every day that people don't enjoy doing, why are you still doing it? You should be definitely finding your place where you're going to be a significant contributor. And if you don't like it, I doubt that you're going to be a great contributor.
100%, right? 100%. If you don't like something, leave. Life's too short. I can promise you. And if you're not going to enjoy it, yes. And you're not going to learn everything, and you're not going to be the best at it. And everybody wants to be the best. If you're not, once you get in your passion job or your passion business, you're going to want to be.
Well, what a shot of energy, right? When people are telling you, oh, hey, Scott, you're so good at this, man. Every time someone tells you that, you're like, yeah, hey, the chest comes out a little bit more, the shoulders come back. You're thinking man, I'm really contributing in my environment and I'm making a difference for people. And all these things are, and that snowballs one way or the other, right? We can snowball that up the mountain and continue to build, or it can snowball down and avalanche this thing into a mess, right? If it's 100%. All negative, Trent, you're sucking, you're terrible at the job. I don't want to go to the review because I'm going to just hear how bad I am, right?
Yeah. And nobody wants to go through that. It's momentum, and there's positive and negative, and it just takes, like we were talking about, one little thing can go from positive to negative. So you just got to keep building off that positive momentum.
If you had to tell, somebody right now who's facing a challenge, they are down and out, it's not over, but, they're struggling. And what would you say is one value, belief, or action that you took when you were down that turned things for you, that you would tell them, hey, this is probably pretty critical for you right now?
Just get positive, and if you mentally can't get positive because you feel there's so much on you where it's just burdening you, find a way to get positive. Believe in your heart and your mind. Jump in the Bible, study, surround yourself with good people. If you don't have anyone in your environment around you that's positive, find a podcast that's going to lift you and listen to them. Get your mind right. Because if your mind's right and your heart's there, you can get through anything. You absolutely can.
I love that, man. Feed the heart, bro. I love that. I mean, and I think that words matter, right? And if we're
100%.
telling
Yeah.
ourselves, and I would never use bad words with my good friend Scott Knudsen. I'd never be like, I think you're horse crap. I think
Yeah.
I'm not telling you, but yet I think a lot of people are using those words to themselves, right? I'm not
Absolutely.
going to get better, man. I'm never going to make it. And the never always stuff that we're running in our own mind. I mean, words matter, and we choose them very carefully with the people we're around and with. Why wouldn't we do that with ourselves?
Trent, that's so right, man. If they get a mirror and they look in that mirror and look in their eyes, and if they can say those positive words in their eyes, eventually they're going to start believing it.
Yeah.
Once they start believing it, then the actions are going to happen. And then once again, positive momentum, it'll take them the right way. But you have to say it and believe it when you say it. And you got to look yourself in the eye. And that's a test.
I think you're right, man. I think underestimate the power of intentness and momentum. I mean, I think those two things are underestimated and we've seen it, right? We've seen it in our lives where you get a stop and it's like, oh man, I thought we were going to go in the right direction. We got a setback and we should probably get out there tomorrow. But, subconsciously we're sabotaging. We're like, yeah, but you know what? I'll go work on the back 40 on this other thing that I know I can get done instead of taking on something hard because it's not going great. And so all of a sudden, the momentum starts taking a break, it starts stopping on you. And then all of a sudden it's like, I don't know if I'll go back to it.
Right. 100%. And once you start letting that negativity go in your mind, like you just said, it's over. The project stopped for a reason. Once you figure out why it stopped, you're just going to make it stronger. Once you fix it, you just got to figure it out. And there's a reason it stopped. It's not a negative when something stops or breaks or something like that. That's not a negative. It's just an opportunity to get better or fix it and get stronger. It's just not.
I've seen that where the leader of a team, kind of says, well, we're not as good as they are. We don't have what they have. And and like, this is the all-star, the star player, and the words matter. Like the rest of the team goes, wait a minute, I thought we were going to compete. And you're telling us that we're not as good as everybody else. So we're just going to have to be content with our 500 record. And like, man, I don't know if you can say that publicly.
Oh, that's terrible.
Right?
That's terrible. I'll give you an example. I was riding this horse and he was a small horse. He was a quarter horse, but he was small. Big heart, small horse. Called Jake. I called him Big Jake. Just
big heart, small horse. I like that.
Yeah. And we were at a big competition. And it was at the Coliseum, actually in Fort Worth, in Cowtown. And it was an all-day deal. We made it to the final, so it was rolling into the night in the early hours. And all the guys were riding these bigger kind of horses, and they were holding up pretty well. And my horse was just sweated down. I was sweated down. We were trying to, compete at a high level. And he was all heart. And I remember him this day because he was all heart. He gave everything he could, and he went out, and everybody else, I could just see in their eyes, you saw it being an athlete. You could see when they're kind of smirking at you, then you get up there and you hit the home run or, but we were out there and we won. And they all looked like, what in the world happened? But that horse didn't know he was small. He didn't know he couldn't do it or wasn't supposed to do it. It was all heart and mind. Yeah.
I can identify with that, man. Like little horse, big heart. I like that.
I love it.
I might get that tattoo, bro.
You have to, man. Just right there. Get asleep. Yeah.
Let me ask you a couple questions.
Sure.
A couple questions from audience here.
Okay.
I mean, you've had a lot of success. You won a lot. What do you think is the best battle that you've ever conquered in your lifetime?
First, being a good Christian. I'm still wanting to do that every day.
That's a big battle, by the way.
Every day, like you said, I don't drink or anything like that. But I don't cuss. But there's still so much more. Who am I going to help today? What are we going to volunteer? Where can we do? So that's number one. Number two, I want to be the best dad and husband I can be and family guy and help my friends and help their friends. If I do that, it's pretty good. I'm always trying to do better. That's once you get that core, everything else will take care of itself.
Love that. How do you, like, when you come up and you talk about, you're coaching some kids, they want to, go on and do some things. When you were young, like, how did you get developed by coaches and leaders you were around? Like, learn like the Scott Knudsen way that today. But there were people that modeled that for you, that showed you that. How about people in your life that kind of led you down that lane?
Yeah, man, my family, awesome, and what I remember, because it was before lightning, so some's gone, but what I remember, it was great. They really set the core for me. I have great family, my friends, church. And along the way, I learned something from everybody. It just something small or something big or something negative, like, man, I don't want to ever treat somebody like that, or that was a bad decision. So I'm trying to learn. And I've had people in the entertainment industry to horse people, and I'm always learning. It never stops. I think once you stop learning, it's over every day, even today, man. I love learning. I think that's the strongest thing we can do to take care of our mind.
That's good. Let's talk about, let's stay on this learning.
All right.
What advice can you give on learning from our mistakes as well as our successes?
Oh my goodness. Mistakes I can talk on all day because I make them every day.
No, we know.
I'd be
Right?
the smartest guy.
And there's actually a comfort now in all these mistakes.
I'll tell you what, when I speak and I talk about my mistakes, I think I make everybody in the room feel better.
Well,
But I learned from them.
One of the statistics I love is like, now as an entrepreneur, CEO, people running organizations like you do, sitting on boards, you are probably tagged to 50,000 plus decisions a day.
Good number.
So what's the odds that we're making 50,000 of the right decisions and not erring in some step, right? Like that's not likely.
No way. There's no way.
No way.
You just learn from your bad calls and grow from your good ones. That's all you can do. But there's so many decisions. Like we were talking about way back. The small little thing you do wrong affects everything. So every decision is important. You try and do them with respect. But when out of 50,000, if we miss a few, we got to be able to adjust.
So true. You've had a lot of experience around other people. When you think, you've had a lot of time to self-reflect. And most people are moving at the light, speed of light, right? They're not taking time to smell the roses, that's for sure.
Right.
Not so present. When you see that someone's looking in the mirror, what's something that you think most people miss about themselves? Like it's right there in front of them, but they're not seeing it.
Their self-worth, because everybody has something to give to somebody else. They all have something that they can help other people with. They all have a special talent, and it's just a matter of them finding it and using it. And with me, whenever I was hurt or, whatever, and I was sitting here, couldn't do something, maybe ride or go to the different meetings, I found something else to do, and after the lightning, my self-worth came from learning to read and write again. But it's once again, it goes back to education, and you have to believe it. You have to believe you're going to be fine. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the show. Cowboy Entrepreneur. Well, no, before we do the show, let's talk about the Latin K. It's very important. It's a family crest, right?
Well, yeah, the K is a Knudsen brand. And after we were hit by lightning, we made a brand, and it's the Lightning K. So you'll see the lightning bolt in our name. And we just, as opposed to running away from what happened to us, we ran into it. We wanted to learn from it, and it's everywhere. It's on our shirts, our tractors, our trucks. It's everywhere. And I walk over that spot all the time, and we just embraced it. And not to so much tell other people about it until lately, but just to not run from something, no matter how bad it is, And even though that happened, we were so blessed. We all three lived through it. My daughter wasn't hurt. My wife got better. I'm better. And it taught us a lot. So
does your daughter, 1 year old, does your daughter have any memory of the event?
She really doesn't, just from the stories, because she was so young and
so little.
It was amazing when that happened, Trent, because we didn't know it happened. We knew there was a loud bang and a bright light. The horses were in commotion and stuff was happening in the house. Our house is about 400 yards from where we were. The TVs blew out. And
how far is your wife away from you?
Right next to me on my right side. It went right in front of her to me. That's why our eyes and ears were kind of tingly, but we didn't know. And it was like the old days with the TV when you pulled the plug out and put it back in, all the fuzzies. That was our brain. And that was our brain. And we were just hit by lightning, and we were like laughing about it because it's a joke almost. You never really expect that. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it started burning and it started hurting. And our mind we had a desktop computer back in the days when you couldn't dial your phone, off that. And I was trying to dial the hospital off that. Our minds were so messed up, and we still didn't really believe it 100%. And my wife, bless her heart, I said, we're going to be fine. And she drove to town, which is 30 miles, and got a birthday cake, a sweet little birthday cake, and came back. And my eyes and my face were black. I just kind of rolled back. And that's when we went back to town, because it didn't dawn on any of us. And then that's when seriousness started. But, it taught us a lot, and we learned from it.
What is the statistic of people surviving a lightning strike?
Not very good. Not very good.
That's
all I know.
Not be
I don't
high.
know the number, but it's not very good.
All right.
And I don't think I would have got over it if I didn't believe in God and really believe in myself and have the support of the family and my friends. The ones that knew, we didn't tell a lot. We weren't over that. Like, look what happened to us. But people that did know, we just believe we'd get over it. So that became our family brand.
So let's talk a little bit about the Cowboy Entrepreneur. you start this thing out talking about entrepreneurship in a show, and very quickly that becomes, or did you start as a radio show or did it start as a podcast?
We did both. We started speaking around to some universities and some different things, and it kind of took off. And I called a friend of mine that owned a magazine, and I said, "Man, I think there's something we need to do here." And it wasn't from me. It was the kids were coming up, and I asked them. I said, "Give me 2 stories. What do you want to ask me? Have you been hurt? Have you ever failed?" And I'm like, "Oh my goodness!" As a cowboy, you never talk about your injuries. You just go on. And I answered them, and they leaned in. I'm like, "Dang, there's something there." And we just started from there, and we got our team put together and started the radio show, the podcast, and it just kind of took off.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
And you're going to kind of go worldwide on this thing soon, which is pretty cool.
Absolutely. I think we have 18 countries now that follow us, and it's growing pretty quick. It's a lot of fun. It's so much fun just to meet other people.
Let's talk a little bit about that environment, right? Let's talk a little bit about, again, this is an environment of rodeo, farming, horses, cattle. All these categories are international. I mean, it's not like it's restricted to the United States, right? Everyone's been doing these things for a long time. And again, I just don't think people kind of got their blinders on. They don't know, like, hey, this is going on worldwide and a lot of things are happening. Talk about what that's meant to you, the family. Has that always been a center of international, or how's that served you?
When we were breeding horses and training a few horses, we had people from Panama and Puerto Rico, Mexico, Canada calling us. It was somewhat close. And with the show, it's really expanded a lot to Australia and Europe and all over the place. It wasn't, but I'll tell you, it's a kind of cool story. It's a business story. We had a bad drought here in, I believe it was 2009. I've kind of put the dates out because I don't concentrate on that. And a bad drought. And there was no hay. Diesel was up. It was just a bad situation for anybody in our industry. And we couldn't get hay. We were shipping it from California to Texas, and then they ran out. It was a bad deal. And we had a bunch of horses. And I said, "Man, we got to do something." It was just too much inventory, if you want to say it like a business term. So, and I had great horses. I didn't want to cull any, but I said, "Okay, we're going to get rid of some horses. We're going to move some things around. Where can we go with them? Where are we going to sell them?" Half the United States was in this drought. There was no place to sell them. So I said, we got to figure out a place to go with them. So we figured out overseas, Panama, and we started creating some relationships. So we started shipping horses over there, and that became the foundation for some of those programs. But we found a way out of that situation.
Nice.
And that's
a big deal, right? Like, hey, winners find a way,
You have to, man. If you don't, there is no way.
That's right. I love it. All right, Scott, well, let's talk a little bit about, before we go, I want to hear about maybe a go-to quote, something you do, like, hey, when things are kind of up against it and you feel it, like there are things you go to, whether you go to the Bible or anything like this. But for everyone else, hey, follow the show on YouTube Live and many more videos on Leadershipity YouTube channel. You can find us at Leadershipity on Instagram and Twitter, at Trent M. Clark. Any of our socials are on either one of those two, leadershipity.com. Make sure to look for our upcoming ebook, The Pyramid of Leadershipity. And you can email me, Trent@leadershipity.com, if you'd like to take the assessment on your leadership pyramid. So love to have that. Tell them again where they can find you, Scott.
Cowboy Entrepreneur on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on LinkedIn at Scott Knudsen, but Cowboy Entrepreneur.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. So let's talk about this verse. Which
Let's do it.
Go to when things are down?
Man, I like Proverbs 11:2, and it's pride leads to disgrace, and humility leads to wisdom. And I just love that. There's no sense in being arrogant, carrying yourself a different way, because life will humble you. Your day will humble you. It happens. And just be humble and help people along the way. It's the best way to go. I've known a lot of successful people, and they're humble. They want to help people. You'd never know what they had or what they did unless you ask. And I love that, kind of like Solomon in the Bible. He asked God for anything, and he didn't ask for money. He didn't ask for wealth or fame. It was knowledge and wisdom, and I think that comes with humility.
Yeah, I was talking to in a show actually that's coming up recently. I think last week I was talking with a guy, Finian Kelly, he's the CEO of Intentionality Inc. And I was telling him, like, if I look at all my challenges that I've ever had, that really most of my challenges are self-inflicted, by the way, right? And I would say, listen, man, I could probably attribute 99% to pride. I mean, I think it's gotten me in so much trouble along the way, and maybe not even consciously, right? It's not
Right.
something I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm feeling prideful today, right? Like,
Right.
I think it's where that you get to that edge, man, where confidence can leap into arrogance so easily,
So easily. I
and
love
it's a
that.
dark
I
world.
love that. You're absolutely right. When you go jump on a horse, they don't care what kind of day you had. They don't know what's in your bank account. They don't know if you're getting syndicated. They don't know. They don't care. They just, treat them with respect.
Yeah, it's one of the things that's challenged me being around horses, right? It's a huge animal. I'm not a big dude. I'm always like, man, I respect the
Yeah.
power of we name our car engines based on horsepower, right? Like,
Yeah,
this is like
absolutely.
no joke, man. And when I think
Absolutely.
about that, I always have a lot of respect for seeing like the old movies like Citizen Kane and things
Yeah.
like that, where you see
Yeah.
a young Liz Taylor doing stuff at 14 years old. She must have grown up on a ranch, because like,
Yeah.
I don't think they could have taught her that in a year, like how to ride these horses at that speed, right? It was impressive, but I think that's when, the real talent was talent. But
Absolutely.
now it's getting a little more gray. Okay, so my quote, thinking about you, like, Scott, I'm gonna quote the great Willie Nelson, "Mama,
Ooh.
don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys." Like, this is like I'm listening to 60 bones broken, 9
Yeah.
concussions, a broken neck, man, a face shattered. Like,
Yeah.
this is a rough go, man. This isn't
Yeah.
for the faint
It
at heart, brother.
has. I love that, man.
Well, listen,
Surprised
man,
me with
I hope you've enjoyed it. Scott, loved having you on today. For everybody else, if you enjoyed today's episode, please continue listening and rate Winners Find a Way. 5 stars. Come back. We work hard to find value delivering stories from the 1% leaders. And of course, Scott Knudsen did not disappoint at all, as usual. So thank you, Scott, for being here, man. Loved having you.
Trent, thank you so much, man. I enjoyed it so much. I really appreciate it.
All right. For everybody, we'll see you next time.
Rebellious Infusions are organic flavored water enhancers. Rebellious provides clean, focused energy in liquid packets. Just tear the corner of the packet and pour 16 ounces of water. Rebellious Infusions have no sugar, no calories, and up to 300 milligrams of antioxidants and loads of L-theanine for brain health. Rethink your drink at drinkrebellious.com. For 10% off of your next purchase, use the code 99999. If you are a business or organization leader and want expert advice, coaching, and guidance to help you build your team to be the best, then email Trent directly at trent@leadershipity.com or connect with him at Trent M. Clark on LinkedIn.